Harsh shadows, those are always good. It is 6:57, and you can tell we're getting closer to winter because it's still dark. It's getting darker. It stays darker longer, and then it gets darker earlier in the evening. Whoa, I lost all my light. Here. So you can see many of the spaces have cleared out. People leave very early in the morning, and usually I do too, but this is like my weekend, so I'm not going to be in a hurry. Yeah, there's not much to say. So this is kind of the lifestyle that you have to get used to. Now if you're single, there's nothing to get you. But on Saturdays, typically I'm with my wife and my 6 kids, so it's a good thing I have movies. And when I get to the Loves where I'm going, one of the reasons why I waited until this morning was I'll arrive there in a couple hours, and there'll be ample parking spaces, and I can try to find the most premium parking space there is in order to get the best connection with Wi-Fi. One thing with these truck stops is it's not like they have Wi-Fi antennas everywhere. They have them on top of their main building pointing out towards the truck stop, but if you're blocked by other trucks or you're facing the wrong direction, your signal can be really weak, and it wouldn't be worth it to even get Wi-Fi. So my plan is to scope it out to see where the antennas are at, so I can line up the front of my truck with those antennas, so my laptop has the best chance of receiving the best signal. Aside from that, if I were to park in any other area or facing away, my signal would just be less optimal. And if I'm going to be spending my points for my free Wi-Fi, I want them to be worth it. So I have plenty of points to get Wi-Fi for the weekend, and that'll allow me to answer email and whatnot on the computer versus my phone. For some reason there are messages on YouTube that I cannot respond to directly. I guess it's a glitch with YouTube, and but I'm able to, at least through my phone. On my computer, I'm able to at least use other methods to reply to messages, and it's much easier on the laptop than the phone. So I would tether. Usually I could tether my phone to my laptop and reply to messages that way, but it tends to use more data, and the reason that is because when your computer is connected to the internet, it tries to update, all kinds of stuff, or download stuff to update later. All kinds of programs running in the background, and so I tend not to do that very much because I don't want to use up all my data, or use data to update the computer when all I want to use the data for is to reply to messages. So that's it for this morning. I've got my other camera charging. I don't know if it's got a loose connection or not, so it may not be charging as well as it should be. Hence, the battery life is really low. But I will try to hook that up, but I may not have time because I'll already be there. Maybe a time lapse of a truck stop, but I think I can hook it up. In fact, that'll be a good experiment. We'll see what happens. Talk to you later. It is 9:46 in the morning, and this is where I'm going to spend my weekend. They have a Hardee's, and down the street that way is a Walmart where I'll resupply, because usually I do that when I get home. And there's the antenna for Wi-Fi. So I may be in a good position, or I may not be. But I'm here for a couple days, so I mean, I'll readjust as necessary. This is about as close as I can get. There's the fuel islands, and there's only a couple spaces on the right. And then there's a bunch of truck spaces over there, but they're farther away, so I will experiment and see how Wi-Fi works from here. If it was like my last experience, it'll be hit or miss throughout the day, depending on how many drivers are awake and using the internet. I've, as suspected, I didn't do as many miles as I did last week because that was like a 3,000 mile week. But I did, I started on Monday with a clean slate. I think, yeah. And so basically what I've done this week, including today, is 2,500 miles. And there'll be a little bit of mileage overrun from last week that'll go into this paycheck. So my last week's paycheck was pretty good size, and this one should be fairly decent too. And yeah, there's not much else to say. This is Kansas. This is the first time I've ever, I think, stayed the night in Kansas. I've driven close to Kansas City before. I don't think I've ever delivered actually in the state of Kansas. Trying to get out of the sun, otherwise it creates harsh light. Guess I can turn off my radio. I don't know if you could see that, but I'm 56 minutes away, 52 miles, so I'll get up on Monday and drive there. I can't get up too early because they don't open up until 7, so it's not like if I leave at 5, I could show up there at 6 and be sitting there for an hour waiting for them to open their doors, and I don't want to do that. So I will try to set up my GoPro and see what kind of action we can capture in this place. Not going to be a whole lot, but we shall see. I've never done, excuse me, I'm going to try to do a time-lapse photography versus just straight video and then slowing it or speeding it up. Excuse me. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to, considering there's 30 frames in every second of video on average, depending on video settings, but that's about what the human eye can see at, is 30 frames a second for it to seem real. With the way I set this up, it may only last 2 minutes. You'll see my 2 days. We shall see. This is a little bit of an experimentation for me on the GoPro time-lapse using photographs, so we shall see. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to this truck stop before, but the format seems really familiar to me because they all blend together. They all look the same. They all look the same. So that's it. We'll see what happens. If there's anything exciting that happens at the truck stop, like somebody runs over a gas pump, I'll turn on the video and we'll capture that. That did happen at a location I was at in, I don't remember where, but a truck was having difficulty going around it was like this, in the sense that trucks could drive around there was no store on the right. It was just a drive-through. You can drive around the pumps, or you can go through the pumps. Well, all the pumps were empty, and here was this truck having a difficult time going around the outside, and instead of backing up and just going through the pumps, he just went for it and drove over a gas pump. And people were running out of the store trying to chase him down because they thought he might be running off. But as soon as he did that, I got out of there because I was like, man, if there are problems, I don't want to be anywhere near explosions. I dealt enough with that in my life. So I left and got out of there for safety reasons. And that was I'm thinking he was in training because as I was moving out of the parking lot and all the gas station attendants were over there flagging down the truck, and it parked. 2 people got out, so I'm assuming maybe one guy was in training. I don't know. But I was flabbergasted, because I was like, and I may have covered that in another video, but it's just it's amazing to see that sometimes what people will do. You know, they think that, you know, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. It's like, really? You know, think about it. All you have to do is, and you see those videos on YouTube where truck drivers get themselves in precarious situations, and they're like, well, I'll just kind of bust a U-ey and totally destroy my truck trying to get turned around. And it's like, in those situations, you really just got to be like, you know what? I screwed up. Now I'm just going to, you know, I got to do this right. I got to back out of here or get assistance. Because that's, you know, everybody can see that you're in a bad spot, and they'll be understanding if you need to make corrective decisions in order to fix it correctly, instead of just going for it and totally destroying stuff. That's just... I understand the stress and how nerve-wracking it can be when you put yourself in a situation where you're like, oh man, the direction I chose was not the right one, and now I'm in a position where I can go for it. It never works. Or I can be like, yeah, that's right, I screwed up. Let me get out, look at everything. All right, that's where I'm going to back up to, and I may have to go talk to a few people and say, hey, can you just not... You know, can you back up a little bit, or can you just stay right here, because I'm going to try to back up and turn this thing around, versus, you know, doing something that would be bad. Don't be afraid to realize you're in a tight spot and that you need to do the correct maneuvers in order to get out of there, and not just wing it. You can't be all willy-nilly about these things. It's 2:20 in the afternoon on Saturday, and I bought Wi-Fi. Needless to say, it is pathetic. So I sent Loves a message saying to let them know how inferior their Wi-Fi service is that you pay for. But I had to go inside and use the free Wi-Fi in the restaurant in order to do that. Because the Wi-Fi you pay for was that bad. And I'm right, I did a speed test, which you can do on any computer, on your internet speed, and I get, when you run the test, it didn't even have a detectable speed. Whereas at least in the inside, I had 1 megabit download speed in the restaurant, which is still horrid as well, but it's better than nothing. So here's the Hardee's. I mean, yeah, there's where the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi was. There's the Loves, and on the other side of the causeway there is a Taco Bell, a McDonald's, and a Walmart. So I'm gonna go check those things out. If I can find Wi-Fi there, I would appreciate that. And since I have nothing else to do, I don't mind walking. So that's about as fun as it gets on the weekends, guys. I might have to invest in a portable satellite dish and get one more receiver for my DirecTV system, put it in my truck. Otherwise, I would be insanely bored if I had to do this every weekend. Crazy.